Okay. Is everyone comfortable? Good. I've got a slew of different options, more pillows and everything on the sides, so lounge up. We've got the space. Is everything working? Numbers running? Go time. Okay. Well, I want to thank you first and foremost for everyone that's come to. This is the most uncomfortable I've ever been in terms of a work presentation. Remember when I could talk any kind of shit with Qigong, like, blah, 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 China, I live there, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, oh, this is fucking great. And now I got none of that to back me up. And so it's really exciting. I want to kind of talk initially how this all got started. And it wasn't a click, it was a gradual build. A few years ago, I was asked what I do. And that for me has always been like if you ask me what I do, I don't want to talk to you, like I'm gonna go somewhere else. I try to get out of the conversation as quickly as possible. And I might even say, I'm a dancer, and I just go. Like I just don't want to talk about what I do. And then when I do talk about what I do, I always get responses that are very interesting. And to be honest, just uncomfortable for me. I don't like talking about my work. I don't see myself as being like like a Qigong guy. I don't see those kinds of things and advertise it per se. As a matter of fact, this is probably the first one in a long time. But when I was asked, I was flippant that day, and I was like, I'm the intimacy guy. And the guy's like, what the fuck what is that shit? I'm like, well, that's what I do. I work typically one-on-one, or even in the groups I have, they're usually quite community-like. I like to be that way with people, and men and women, but no sexual things, of course. And that's where, for most people, it gets kind of awkward. It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, intimacy and sex are always kind of very much the same for most of us, and not necessarily, or not even needed, per se. And so, in that moment, I had a click, and I'm like, well, what am I doing? Like, I really like my work. I love Tai Chi, I love Qigong, I love Reiki, I love meditation, but I don't like meditators. I hate Qigong people. I went to a Qigong conference. I was very honored years ago, and you came, I got photos of these, where I gave a presentation at the 14th annual Qigong conference, and it was an honor. I'm up there with Mantak Chi, like all these like big dudes, right? And I was like, whoa. And I was just the flavor of the week. That's what I got. And I'm looking around the audience, and I'm like, you guys are a bunch of nerds. Like, this isn't like everyone's wanting to be Chinese. Everyone's wanting to wear a silk outfit and sell that. And I'm dressed more or less like this. I look very different than most, and that wasn't even the point. But what I was trying to say to these people is, it was down at, I want to say the Hilton, where was it? One of those major ones down there. And it was on King Street, and you can see people knew about it. They knew that, hey, there's something big going on here. What's going on in there? But they were kind of intimidated about they're not Chinese, and they're not vegetarian, and they don't know anything about it. So I was like, no, this is about promoting and being and helping each other. This is what this Congress is about. Why is it limited to just Qigong people? So this all coming back to this point with this guy I met at that party, I said, what I do is I know how to work with people. I know how to see people. I know how to connect with people. That's what I do. And I sell it in these kinds of terms, but if you really get to know me, and if you work with me personally, you know we didn't fucking talk about Reiki the whole time. It wasn't about that. I wasn't just flipping off, curriculum and saying, okay, do this now, okay, do this now. No, we approach it much more with a full heart and what I call intimately. And that's kind of how it is I've been going about my practice. So funny enough, I began to think in this way. And then I began to put together a book on it, and who knows if that's gonna come out, fucking whatever. And I started thinking about this. And the more I started thinking about it, the more I came into contact with, okay, now I'm actually presenting myself. Like really, I can't hide behind Qigong anymore. I can't hide behind Tai Chi anymore, which is kind of not what I did by design, but it is definitely a piece of what I was able to do. Like, oh, I did this, oh, look at me. But it's not really who I am. So that became more understood. This is a few years ago. And I started to look at myself a lot more honestly, and things that happened in my life at that time were, devastating types of information, like, oh God, right? I have to understand that. I have to accept that about myself now. Like, I didn't think I was like this. I was lying to myself. Okay, that's really who I am. And then I got kids, and they're showing me things about myself too. So it was all intermingled. And as I started doing this more and more, I got excited, but at the same time, a part of me, and this is how I want to start this, because this is the most appropriate start. A part of me was ridiculously frustrated with what I was seeing in society. When I was looking back at my past, frustrated with what I was given as an experience as a young boy. And that for me hasn't been a part I've been able to share. I'll do it today, I'm gonna do it now. In my work, because you don't want to go to your Qigong teacher and see an angry, depressed man. That's not a good sign. You want to see someone who's got their Qi together. That's the sell. Right? Now, I'm not lying to you guys when I show up every day. I'm not presenting in a false way anymore. Maybe 10 years ago, maybe I was doing some weird shit. I definitely was doing some weird shit. Whatever. But I'm very honest with them. I guess my point is, as I started to look at what I was doing in terms of information I was finding and what I want to do in terms of presentation or a book or a change of careers or whatever, I began to be really frustrated and misanthropic even with what I see with today's world, with the governments and society and racial equality and homophobia. Are we still talking about that? Are we still talking about the colors of our skin and what kind of people we like to have sex with? Is that still a fucking big deal? But it is, for many. And for me, very frustrating. And I'm kind of, the part of me that goes misanthropic is the part of me that gets kind of almost bored. I use that as a defense mechanism. When I get really upset, knowing that I can't do anything, typically what I would do is, and I still do it, is I'll just act like I don't give a fuck. I'll just be like, you know what, I'm over this. And in real truth, I'm not over it at all. But that's what I do consciously to justify this new kind of fuck it position, which I have to say is highly convenient. But I started doing this more and more and more. And I started looking back at my past a lot more honestly. And if you saw me, you'd be like, oh, fucking, obviously. But I was blind to my shit. And I think most of us are. And this is kind of the whole point today. You know, when I was young, I used to be called the angry American. Not in the States, I don't give a fuck. They're all angry about it. I was very normal there. I'm kidding, for those of you in the States, it's fucking whatever. As I was traveling, I was meeting people from all over the world. And I had an attitude problem, most definitely. I saw myself being American as soon as I left the States, and I was like, I'm sorry. Fuck. Mm-hmm. Like, I was embarrassed to be from the States. That being said, I didn't say I was Canadian or hide the fact that I was from the States. I'm from the States. That's fucking how it goes. And I'm proud of that, but not in an American way. I don't give a fuck about the States. But this is where I'm from, and I got no problems with that. That being said, at the time, with all the shit going down, I left September 10th, 2001. My plane landed in Italy in the nighttime, the 11th. The planes were going off on my cousin's television set in Italy, and he's like, ah, fuck, let's eat pasta. I'm like, that's not even real. Fucking here we go. So I had this kind of angry tone, and I was really angry at the States. I left the States with my finger to the airplane window. Like, fuck this place. I'm out of here. And I was. I never went back. I mean, I go back to visit. Of course I go back to visit. But I've never gone back to live. And that was a kind of justifiable lie to me. Very justifiable at the time. Fuck this place. I don't like this place. Everybody here are assholes. Well, that's ridiculous and not even true. But it's where I was at. And then rewind back even younger. I wore my Solaris socks, and I even wore all black today for the hardcores watching from the past. I used to play death metal. I used to wear satanic t-shirts and shave my head and be like, fuck yeah! And I used to be crazy and do stupid things out of, what's it called where you're the opposite, counterculture, or, I'm missing the word. But I would do it just for the extremist response. It was a very immature time in my life. That being said, I was 16 years old. I don't regret it. Who is not that when they're 16? Fucked up and weird. But that was the first piece of my life where I was like, fuck this, I'm doing something else. And so again, the anger, and then when the anger cannot be sorted, this usually led to depression. Never in a depressed, dysfunctional sense, just more like a flat affect, I'm losing my light type sense. And this became more or less normal, but I was always able to offset it. So this was my past. Couple that, and this is important because I've really seen this in society and within myself. So let me get back to society for a second, and I'll talk about myself because this is important. I started to look around, and I was really easily able to do this. We'll get to these three in a second, but I was really easily able to do this when I looked around at society. And I was thinking about that idea of the book and the change of careers. I was looking around and being very frustrated because I was looking at what I saw as being just kind of dumb shit. And this is now going to move into a very judgmental and douchey way of looking at life. But it's where I go sometimes, where I just think most of us are fucking idiots. I think we're making a lot of mistakes. Now I can balance this out, and I will balance it out. But this is an area that I go that used to get me very frustrated. And I would point fingers at what I thought were to be very influential types of people, doing very influential type things and affecting the rest of us. Right? I made a comment the other day that 100 years ago and beyond, baseball players or professional athletes in the States and actors and actresses were the entertainment for the rich people. Right? And these talented individuals were very poor. They had no money. They were thought of as kind of being less than in terms of societal's order. Right? Oh, you're just some actor, fetch me this, you're just some shit ball player, you know, whatever, you're a bum. That was the thing, they were considered bums. Right? And now it's flipped. And both of them are extremists, but that's beside the point. But now, these same type heads shape a lot of what we do. We listen to fucking some 25-year-old sporto because he or she can throw a ball in this way, which is a skill set. It's no doubt that's a skill set. But is it an important skill set in terms of what they speak on and how they influence? Right? This gets back to the whole thing that those blokes are making millions of dollars, and people who are teaching young kids how to be better humans are getting paid fucking beans, and no one gives a shit. I mean, this is this trite as fuck idea, right? So there's frustration, and there's judgment, and there's fury in that. I was raised with sports, not to mention the competitive tone that promotes. I'm better than you. I'm gonna crush you. It's kind of sick. I used to have this thing, and let me just pause for a second. I'm gonna be all over the fucking map with this shit. It's gonna be all over the place. I'll just try to stay with it. When I was young, I quit sports and I joined a death metal band. I told you this. But I didn't tell you why I quit sports. I quit sports not because of my dad. My dad's an awesome enthusiast. He loves sports. But it wasn't because of him. It wasn't like, fuck you, Dad. A lot of people think that's what it was. Maybe even he thought that's what it was. Maybe it was a little bit like that, but it wasn't really like that. What it really was I saw what competition did to me. I didn't like myself when I became really competitive. And I would use people's weaknesses against them to beat them mentally. I thought that was kind of sick. And I didn't like it, made me very uncomfortable. So I said, I'm not gonna do this. And I began to get really nervous and anxious because I was being forced to, I don't know, I didn't like the attitude. Like I love to play, and I was a good athlete. I love to play baseball. We'd play every day. We'd play in the wintertime, California. It's still fucking winter. And your fingers would bleed. I'd be in the garage taking hits with doing my cuts and bloody hands. Like I was crazy for it. But I hated the games. Because the games, the parents would come. And so-and-so's dad would be talking shit. And so-and-so's kid was trying to do this. And it just became something evil. It wasn't fun anymore. It became too goddamn serious. And I was like, in my early teens. And I'm looking at adults who want to scrap. Like my friend's dad's. He's on the field. I think I was 12 years old. He's like, motherfucker, suck hard. And we're sitting there, and I'm 12, and I'm like, you're fucking 38, dude. What are you doing with your life? Like, this is fucking horrible. This is not even important. Right? So all these things show me, like, okay, who's the fastest? Who's the strongest? Who's the most violent? Who's the sexiest? Who's got the most money? You know how pathetic that is? But that's what we are. That's what what do you do? I'm only asking what you do because I want to know how I can respect you. And if you make a lot of money, oh, okay. Oh, eh. But if you don't, and if you're less than me, it's like, oh, yeah. Cheap belly. But that's fucking true. I don't tell anybody what I do until later. They're like, oh, I didn't know you were this. I'm like, well, I'm not really that, but I kind of do this. But it's just such a farce. The competition is not what I feel we need right now. We're beyond that. I mean, life is competitive, and this is true, but there's a lot more to share than we think. We think there's this amount of money. That's the only amount of money there is, so we're gonna fight for it. They make more money, you know that, right? There's more money to be made, literally and secondarily. Energy, it's the same thing. Everyone wants this special, superb Hollywood star energy, and they think it's just a limited amount. It's fucking everywhere. You just create it, and then people gravitate towards you because they want it. But what they don't realize is they can create it themselves if they believe in themselves. So this idea of competition, this idea of better than, this idea of strength. Bro, I mean, you can look at me. I'm not a fucking big guy. And when I was young, I was really small. And so this gets back to a lot of my frustration as a kid. I was short and I was skinny. And I was a loner when I was a young boy. And then I became friends with a dude. He was older. I became friends with all of his friends. I got to hang out with the older crew. And as a few years progressed in my early years, I began to create a little bit of clout with that. You couldn't fuck with me because I knew people that knew people. And that's how I got by. But that became my sense of security. I gained a little bit of an attitude for that. But it was a false sense. Like, I can't fuck you up, but I know he will. Right? I became that guy. But that again, this tough guy image, this strength building, focus that is everything that we do, is not what I consider to be true strength. To me, true strength, and I knew this when I was a little boy, is having the courage to say hi, or give you a hug, or tell you your shoes look dope. You know how strong you gotta be to tell a person of the opposite sex on a bus, and you don't want anything to do with her beyond that, hey, I like your shoes. There's a lot of strength to do that. Why? Because 90% of the time she's gonna be like, fuck off, creep. What? Weirdo. You know how awkward that is? I do it all the time. So the idea of strength for me is very frustrating. I was never a strong boy, obviously, and because of that, I was considered to be weaker. I thought that was so interesting. So here we go, frustration, misanthropic tones, bitterness, right? And this is something I've never been able to show within my business for all the obvious reasons. My wife knows it. Fucking hell, she knows it. She's like, can I come in? I'm like, no, don't come. She's like, wow, like, you've seen this before. Is this fucking normal for you? Besides, we gotta get the babysitter, and that costs money. So stay home, I'll videotape it, it's fun. Right? And, I think by me saying these kinds of things, it takes a bit of courage, because these opinionated positions I hold can very easily be, fuck him, or look at that, or blah, 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 blah. So I'm wide open right now in that sense. But I'm saying these things because I know a lot of us can relate. And I know a lot of us, in some ways even, feel the exact same. Because it is frustrating. We've all been to the, normalized school-type environment, most of us at least, where you have the hierarchy of domination, the cool kids, the jocks, these kinds of things, right? And funny enough, it kind of continues in different ways. Those same people don't continue to hold the same positions, things shift, but it's still the same sort of concept, which I find ridiculous. And then most of this shit, when it comes into big business and government and sports, is run by men. And it's fucked, and very obviously so, no good. And you're looking at men hiding behind tough words, minions who take over their fights, behind money. Oh yeah? Here, shut the fuck up. Here's 10 G's. See ya. Right? Just these types of things have taken over our society and dominated what I see as everyday news, interactions on the streetcar. You fucking did it, I'm gonna fuck you up. All that kind of stuff. And I've been there, I've done these things. I'm not separate from this. This is where it becomes interesting in about 2 minutes. Just hold on. But I look around, I see all this. I see, kids buying rap CDs, and all of a sudden, not even CDs, now it's fucking downloads. And it's yeah, fuck you, bitches. Fucking burn. All of a sudden, everybody's tough, right? Now it's the same thing. I was playing Death Knell and the same thing, right? But where does it come from? So the more I started to look at all these frustrating bits, the more I took the feeds off of my phone because I just couldn't fucking take seeing Donald Trump's face any fucking more. I don't want to see that look. Just fucking take it off my phone. All these things, I'm wait a second, why am I so frustrated? If I am actually beyond this shit, or if I am not these things, how come it's affecting me so much? And this is where it hit me. No, I'm not frustrated at these people. I'm not frustrated at society. That's cheap. That's convenient. And for me, very immature. I'm frustrated with myself. And then I was wait a fucking second. So I had the idea for this prior to this realization. I was just gonna go on some douchey ass rant about how I hate society and how come I'm smarter than everybody else. That's where I was starting with this. I was you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fucking just get in there and talk some shit. That's how arrogant I was. And about a couple months ago, I was no, it's me. I'm the one that is disappointed with myself. And what is myself? Who is that kid that was able to get by on the wings of the older kids and gain, if you will, street cred with my fellow peers who are my same? I'm hanging out with them, but they're not hanging out with them. It was that kind of shit. What was behind all that? So this is my own practice. This is where the meditations became very interesting, and how I teach Qigong and Kung Fu these days is different than how I teach it. I try to mimic Zheng. I'm not fucking Zheng. I'm not tough, I'm not Chinese. How do I teach it? That changed everything. And the more I realized, thinking back to that version of myself, now I had a lot of support with this. My wife is great. I work with a few people who have just blown my mind. But seeing my kids was actually one of the biggest, oh God, that's who I am. They're just like me. And they're just almost to the T. It's kind of creepy. They physically look like me. They're built like me. Big heads, little bellies, no butts. Tall and lanky. Really soft and cuddly and very comfortable with being that way. And then I see them try to act tough sometimes. I'm you fucking acting tough for her. And then I stopped a while ago and I was that's what I do. And everybody can see it. I didn't used to think anybody could see it. I thought I was able to pull one over on most of everybody in my life. My friend in Japan, this Australian guy, funny guy, and he was probably 8 years my senior at the time, but really cool guy. We had a great time together. He's like, Paul, every time I'm around you, I feel like there are cameras behind me. What the fuck is going on? I'm like, what? He's like, are you on stage right now? I'm like, what's up? No, I'm saying I got my shit together. Fucking, I got this thing going on. This. Just waving my own flag. Look at how awesome I am. Look at where I've been. Look at what I've done. I still have these tendencies, by the way. But I was really like, what the fuck is all this? But I was able to do it in a way that I got by. You know, I would date certain types of girls because of this. Because I knew how to angle it. My wife, by the way, wasn't one of them. She's like, what's up, fucker? She's awesome. But certain types of friends. And if you didn't play by these rules or disagree with me, or check me and be like, Paul, you're full of shit, you know what I would do? Boom, boom, we're done. Just ghost you. It was convenient as fuck. And I'm really good at that. Just boom, we're done. I don't want to see you more. You've crossed me. And that's a shitty thing to admit. And it's a shitty thing to do to people. But I did that, and I've done that. And that was a defense mechanism because what they were saying hit the fucking nerve. I don't want to feel that shit. So it was easier to be like, we're done. Don't gotta feel anything. That guy's an asshole. Justify. Right? And that's how I functioned. So so this is all kind of wrapped into together now. So I'm working on myself. I'm seeing where I'm at. I'm becoming frustrated. Then I'm realizing, oh God, it's me. And then I met a few people over the last few years of my life who were like, what are you doing? I can see you. You know, I feel like naked. Like I feel like I'm exposed. And that was really hard. I didn't handle it very well initially. But luckily enough, I didn't ghost these people, and these people were strong enough to not tell me to fuck off. But I began to see where it is I've not been able to mature. And I think that's what we're looking at as a whole here. What I see in terms of a lot of society, man culture, fuck yeah. What is that shit? Straight up, immaturity. I think it's immaturity. When I look at my kid do it, it looks kind of funny. I'm like, you're being a goof. But when a man does it and you call him a goof, you got a fucking problem. A real problem. I don't like the violence. I can't even watch violent movies anymore. I train and teach martial arts. I don't like watching violent movies. You know why? Because I can feel that shit and it hurts. That doesn't mean I'm not strong. That shit's unnecessary. Why is it such a big thing? Why do we drive by a fucking movie theater and see those big posters outside the theater and it's titties, gun, Tom Cruise and gun, funny guy and gun, more titties, and Spider-Man. And that's our fucking list. Like, what the hell's going on? That's where we're at. Right? So I see a lot of immaturity. But then again, I'm the one that was immature. Very immature. And I still have those tendencies. Because I'm sitting here talking to you does not mean that I am now all wise and mature. No, I'm fucked off my head. Don't get that wrong. I'm beginning to grow up. I'm beginning to what I consider to really be a man. And not as in a man, as an adult. My kid asked the other day, I said to him, do you know what it means to be a man? He goes, I hear that, be a man. I'm like, what's it mean to be a man? For you. I was like, it means to be grown up. It means to be strong and believe in yourself. But strong is not always with violence and fists. Sometimes it's most needed with the heart. So I was able to get by on the bullshit that I gave to people because I believed it to be true. I believe my own bullshit. And then people are like, no, you're full of shit, man. You're lying to yourself. And here, and I'm like, oh. And now I've had to come correct. So going back to that young child, I was very comfortable to be on my feminine side. I was the kid that was at the dance party, and all the girls were around me, and I was one dance, because all the guys didn't know what to do. But I was one of them. I was always, my youngest boy was invited to a girl's birthday party. It was all girls. He was the only boy invited to the party of his class, and I'm like, that was me. And it was fucking awesome. Like I'm trying to room for women. This is amazing. You guys don't know what you're missing. I was really comfortable with that. But you know, and most of you know, that wasn't popular. I got made fun of a lot for that shit. And so what did I do? Okay, well, I'll focus more on my masculine side. But now, saying what I just said, that wasn't a real masculine side, it was a token masculine side. The token was, I'm tough. So I started training martial arts. And I got bony elbows and knobby knees, and my shoulders you can feel. So, you know, I can do things with martial arts. I'm no daisy, but you know, like my one friend would say, is like, you know, you might win the fight, but you're not gonna go away without a scratch at least. Like, we're gonna have it. That's the way I see it, but I'm not tough. I'm not into that kind of stuff. I don't wanna be into that kind of stuff, but I adopted those things to get by. So now I'm a little bit scary now, and I've got crazy eyes, and I wear shirts that say, go fuck yourself. And I got tattoos and piercings, and I'm evil. But that worked. It worked for a lot of different things. Women, that was great. But it wasn't me. They're like, you're not a tough guy, you're actually just a big softie. And I said, what are you doing? So I have an uncomfortable position with my feminine side because it was shamed for years. I have a twisted as fuck relationship with my male side, my masculine side, if you will, because that was a big lie. Okay, so I gravitate toward the feminine side and I get more comfortable with that. So that becomes 15 to about a few years ago. Really getting more comfortable with being softer, dressing a certain way, and just being comfortable with being who I am and not worried about what others would say. Or when I go to my wife's friends' houses and they're all watching hockey and I'm like, what the fuck is this? They're like, what are you? And I'm like, well, right? More comfortable with that shit. I don't care. Fuck those guys. I hate that shit. But right now, I'm just beginning to be more comfortable and to own my masculine side, which is, I think, going to be the next 10 to 15 years theme of my life. Really beginning to come into my own skin. Really beginning to own what it is I am, that I've kind of locked away and hidden within my body. It has a physical position. Like it moves in this way on my left side. I've been in the hospital a few times, but I was having a hernia, no hernia. Couldn't walk, like I was having the guts, nothing. No medical problems. What is this? This is a portion of my life. No, shut the fuck up, get down. Shut the fuck up, get down there. I'm kind of scared of my male side because it's very strong, but it's been wearing a mask for so many years. The mask coming off is kind of equally scared. I don't know what the fuck it's going to be. Can't control it once it comes out, kind of. So, what I have these days is what I call venom. I still think most of us are stupid as fuck. And I am in that boat too. I'm not above it going, oh, you fucking idiots. No, I'm dumb as shit. No doubt about this. I look at myself, I laugh at myself a bit too much. I'm way hard on myself. But this is, I think, for us, a necessary time. Although I can judge it in one part of myself that sees beyond what I am in the everyday sense and has a larger perspective, I can go there sometimes. I can see that we're bigger than this. But I can also see that we at this time on this planet are moving through it just on time. It's a bit slow for my liking, but that speaks of my impatience, which is, again, immaturity. We're here because we have to be. No fucking other way to dice it. You want to talk about it? It means nothing. We're here because we have to be. This is where we're at. Okay, what are we being asked to do? Well, we're being asked to grow the fuck up. We're being asked to mature. We're being asked to take what is our life task and fulfill it. But all the things that I was just speaking on, especially in terms of immaturity and denial, are in the way of this. So it's easy to talk shit to me and meet me at a bar and I'll just drink some whiskey and I'll spit bitters and blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of how far it goes for most of us. But it is a venom that is given a little bit of release, but not the full sense. And that just eats and eats in us. Now, I've gotten over the fact that I don't like being called or being thought of as an angry person. I kind of am an angry person. If you really know me, you think like, Paul, he's pretty fucked up. Like he's got some shit. Funny, because at work I don't usually try to present that. I try to kind of hide that for all the others. You know, I catch myself in the mirror sometimes, and I don't have this. I think I walk around the day, it's like this, fuck this. Like a little splinter. So I'm trying to like massage this. I need to get some Botox.
You can get filler again.
Just work it out. Hi. But I see myself, I'm like, that's how that's my face. That's my fucking face. But I kind of am an angry guy. And what I wanted to do about this today was just be like, blah, 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 and talk all the shit I ever want to talk. Because in my other, in Qigong, and I can't tell it. I feel like it's pretty fun talk. I can't come here. I just came here to work on my Qi. I don't want to hear your problems. But this venom is, I think, healthy venom. I believe in many ways, and in a general sense, in a very specific sense, my job here on this planet is kind of working against and working for these injustices that I see in everyday like society. Not that I'm some super person or some superhero, and by the way, fuck superhero movies, by the way, like I'm doing this like, we'll do that in a second. But the idea of the venom is actually really important because as I mentioned, I've tried to stop it. This anger and frustration, I've tried to hide it, but it eats at me. So as I'm bringing it back into place, discovering what it really is for me, really discovering what it means to be like an actual grown-up, it's teaching me things. So it's useful. So yeah, I'm angry, and I still have misanthropic tones, no doubt. But at the same time, I am, if you know me, and in the classes, it's not fake, full of love. I'm the first guy to give you a hug. I'm the first guy to say, I love you. And it's all the time. And in this room, it gets kind of weird because that's kind of what I sell. I don't, put that out. They come to my class. But it's what I do. I just open my heart and I give it to anybody in the room. I don't care who you are. I mean, it's there. Just take it. Like, let's do this. So I speak on this not for my sake. This isn't designed for me to tell my story and no, this is something that I think a lot of us, I'm not special. A lot of us have, but just don't know how to deal with it, just don't know what to do with it. Don't have support or anybody around them who's doing anything similar or gives that any sort of value. So the venom is useful, but I guess it comes to this now. Now that I've said all these things, what are we going to do about it? Because it's not just about me. One of us could be amazing and grow and become enlightened and fulfill our karma and blah fucking blah, right? One of us, two of us. But like I said this before, you got a big fucking organ and you got a bunch of cells and we're the cells and one cell's kicking ass and the other cells suck. The organ's gonna die. And we're here together. So I think what's being, really clear to me these days with the idea on this talk is learning how to personally own your shit and work on that. Whatever that means. And there are many ways. I'm not going to go through a 5-point plan because everyone's different. But doing this to work together. Jesse put a quote a while ago, for those of you who know Jesse, and it says something like, to be healthy by yourself is not enough. You want to be healthy enough to never cause anyone else any problems. Think about that shit. That's a game changer. Oh, I got nice abs and I eat kale. Who gives a fuck? You're an asshole. Total asshole. That's not healthy. So for me, this is exciting, and there's work to be done. I talked about the movie thing a second ago. I like Batman. I don't get you fucking wrong. It's pretty dope, but it's getting a little too far. We've seen fucking enough of Batman. But every superhero movie is what? I read this recently, and I was like, exactly, this guy is saying the exact thing that I think. He said something along the lines of, it speaks to where we're at because why? Because those comic books and those ideas were written towards an audience that was about what age? 12. The fantasies, right? The voluptuous women, the goddesses, the demons, the foe, the guns, the super special powers. When I was 12, that was the shit. I wasn't in the comics, by the way, but that, I do whatever I want, that kind of thing. But because most of us are that age, emotionally, it's a fucking great sell. Sports, I like sports. I don't like the scores. I don't care about who wins. I don't give a fuck about this team versus that team because it's not about one team, it's about all of us. but it's fun to watch sometimes and play. But the emphasis of what it is, the power it's been given, the voice that it has in our society, the money associated, what the fuck's going on, right? So it's time to raise the bar. That's what I feel. And each of us is going to have our own part in it, and this is kind of what I think is important, because as I mentioned in a few of the posts, it's not about men. You know, we all know men, and we all have versions of men inside of us, regardless of what you want to think about that. It's about all of us, man. And the power that breeds is going to be something we can use as inspiration to be better for each other. That's all this is. You know, you're going to have to look at yourself, man or woman, and give value to these kinds of habits that you hold. Hey, is this going to be something I want to do? Keep doing it? Am I taking the easy way out by saying, fuck that guy? Or am I really owning up to my shit? This is kind of where we have to come correct. And you know, that might be a dark night of the soul. You might walk to work the next day and have to be sad for a few minutes. How's it going? You good? You good, right? Everything good? You good? How many times you fucking heard that shit? Fuck you, I'm good. No, I'm not good. Go fuck yourself. How's that? Have a nice day. Like, don't ask me that kind of shit, because today I feel sad. And there's no reason to concern yourself for being sad. You gotta be sad sometimes. And if you don't want to be sad, guess what? You're always gonna fucking be sad. So it's something really powerful just to allow yourself to work through your process. And in terms of daily habits, the only thing I'm gonna say about that is, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I got nothing to do. Phone. Get fucking busy. Start texting people to get interactive. Start calling people to get dramas going. Start doing fucking whatever the hell you do, just busy yourself. Because when you stop busying yourself, it bubbles right the fuck up. Whatever it is you're gonna work on, whatever you're like, fuck that shit, fuck that guy. You put the phone down. No one's calling you. No task to be had. That's what comes up. And you're like, fuck that. I'm gonna work myself to death. I'm busy. Right? But that's what we do. So that's the first step. And there are many steps. You know, I think by me saying this, I'm not positioning and saying I know it all, or I have this, or I have this special way, and follow my 5-point plan, and you will become a good man. No, I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. But what I hope you are able to pay more attention to today is what you feel right now. The words you have, I'm speaking to you, these are my words, and they're just like all over the map, if you haven't noticed that. What's the feeling you're getting right now? And if you can remember that, and more familiarize yourself, because that's a version of you too, not just me, then you have access into working in an honest way. Because I've been doing this for 20-something years now. And I've really only been honest for the last couple. And I'm a crazy disciplined type person. Practiced many hours a day, did all the right things. But I was lying to myself for years. And what's even shocking is there was grades of lying to myself back then too. And I thought, hey, I'm through it. I'm beyond that now. And I'm still bullshitting myself all the fucking time. It's almost exhausting to figure that out. Like, oh gosh. But it's true. And so you can laugh at yourself, and maybe you have someone in your life that just kind of sticks you once in a while, keeps you honest. I like that. So, I don't know. I think I'm going to end it there, because I can just start talking, but it's just going to be more ramblings. I don't know really how to end this, but what I want to say is I want to thank you all for coming, and I thank you for listening. I don't know how this is going to go, but I had to come correct. I had to come out in some sort of position. I don't know if I don't want to start opening man schools or having kumbayas. Not really. I mean, it's not my jam. Like, I've been there, I've done that. It's just not. But yeah, I think you might see this throughout a lot of what I'm doing these days as a shift, and being able to be more, what's the word where you're discerning, where you can see these types of things in people, you know, and feel in yourself, feel in your center with everyone. I was able just to kind of, okay, I know how to be cool, boom. I know how to be funny, boom. I know how to get people to like me, boom. Those are great skills to have. Lots of friends. But I hated myself. Why? Because it wasn't any of me. It wasn't me. So me is maybe not as funny. And I was talking to maybe they're not the coolest guy at the party. Maybe he's just a moody fucker. That's probably more. I'll leave you with that. Moody fucker. I'm not fun to live with. I'll tell you this. But again, I want to thank you all for coming, and this means a lot to me. This is. I was really nervous for this, but that's what I wanted to say. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did it record?